be among you to present some experience that I have gained through being the editor-chief of the journal. Uh, what editors exactly are looking that aligns the author's concept for its better acceptance when a paper is submitted to any journal. Now, when we talk about the submission or of a research article or an original article, if something is very badly done, bad, I will describe you what do you mean by bad research here, but it is almost always rejected. But if you have something which is absolutely, you can say, wow, something new, sensational, absolutely, which is landmark research, even if it is badly written, editors will help you to refine it because they want some good papers to be published in the journal. So this will more or less will be accepted whenever it comes for acceptance. But most of the journals may not be uh, in either of these steps. They may not be bad, they may not be sensational. So the majority of the research will be somewhere in between. Hence, it becomes important to get it accepted. We have to follow certain norms, which aligns the expectation of the editors or the journal itself so that it can take it forward. Now, whenever an author submits the manuscript to a journal, the most common thing that the editor will look is at the originality and the novelty. Now, if something has been done, it is well-known fact. Even if the same journal has published similar articles in the past, certain concept is already well-known. People are following them into clinical practice. So this means there is no novelty or originality, and the editors will not be able to take it forward, and it will be a desk rejection. Now, not only the novelty, even if something is novel, the second step is equally important as the probably how the whole manuscript has been written. And this writing or methodology is primarily related to the robust method section, the most important aspect. When we say the robust methodology, there are two concepts behind it. One, the method should be written in such a description that if somebody wants to do it again, they can do it exactly in the same way which the author has done it. So you can simply, it will be more of a like you can say storytelling, which you describe everything in a scientific language so that the replicability of the study is very robust, clear, descriptive. The second, when we say robust methodology, there are certain ingredients of the methodology. Now, each one of you must have heard the term, say, consort checklist. So when we say the randomized controlled trial, the consort checklist provides certain points which needs to be included in the manuscript. So when you write a manuscript, ensure that all the points which are mentioned in the checklist must be there in the manuscript. If something is missing, this means you have not done it appropriately, and that becomes a weak link, and your article may get rejected. The third important aspect when I said robust methodology is when you plan a study, the method section should be such a robust that if something can influence your outcomes, which is usually labeled as bias, confounders, systematic errors into the study, they need to be identified and taken care during the study, which usually say inclusion, exclusion criteria, which patient will be part of this. So they need to be identified and included into your study, then it will become robust. And then obviously I mentioned that depending upon the type of study, for example, STROOP for observational studies, consort for randomized controlled trial, they have certain checklists, and all those points should be part of it. Now, this is what is the primary thing which any editor will look for when you submit an article to a journal. The editor will also look for that the article that you have submitted aligns to the scope of the journal. So, like, for example, I'm the editor-in-chief of Indian Journal of Anesthesia, which is a PubMed index journal, an international journal, and I will be publishing articles which are in the field of anesthesiology, perioperative medicine, critical care, pain medicine. Now, if somebody send me a paper related to the medicine aspect, for example, management of tuberculosis or management of COPD, probably it will not align to the scope of the journal, and the editor will immediately reject it. And mentioning simple reason, even if it is a good study, very good study, it does not align to the scope of the journal, it gets rejected. Second important aspect is when we say many journals are in, many articles are in gray zone. I mean, not very sensational, but not bad also. Bad in the sense from the novelty point of view. The submission should follow the requirement of the journal, which is usually mentioned on the journal page as instruction to authors. So it's important that whatever has been mentioned, some journals use headings and subheadings, some does not use subheadings, some mentions in different format of the referencing citation. So these instruction to authors needs to be followed very strictly because that gives the seriousness of the authors to the editors while submitting their paper. So sometimes if they are not followed, it appears that if authors are not serious in submitting the manuscript to the journal, were they really serious while doing the conduct of the study? So that's why it will give you a bad impression. Though I understand it takes some time, and sometimes it takes people take slightly also, the authors take slightly, but it is very important that follow the instruction to authors of the journal in which you are submitting and ensure that the journal in which you are submitting aligns to the scope of the research question that you followed. Now, journals will follow different pattern. IMRAD pattern is the most common one. These are the headings that you need to include every aspect of it. But when I was talking to you in the beginning about the novelty, the introduction section emphasizes the need of this study. Need, this means novelty of this study and its clinical implication. And usually the introduction section will have a research question, or it can be put in the form of objective and hypothesis. So this needs to be very succinctly clarified and written. Usually it is followed as a PICOT criteria. PICOT means when you write a research question or an objective or a hypothesis, it should have population, intervention, control, outcome, and time frame, and also the study design. So these components must be part of your research question, objective, and hypothesis, so that when editor or reviewers read it, they know that this is a research question. They can take a decision whether there is novelty into it, whether something has been framed which is free of bias, confounders, errors, because if you frame them nicely, it becomes important. And when we say this will help you to have inclusion exclusion criteria, which will take care of bias and confounders. So based on this, the first impression, not only of novelty, but the well-planned study, well-planned research question will allow you to have a good method section. Now, this was a data which was collected, and when it was asked that what are the usual problems in the manuscript submitted by the authors. So if you see that top 3 are the most important one, and it is mostly related to the method sections. People are not using scientific language, inappropriate presentation, poor description of design, self-promotion. They are not comparing it well with the other published studies. So these are the common things that we're looking for. But most common errors was in the method section. You can see here that majority of problem, because discussion is not a big issue, it can always be revised. Results can only be analyzed again if the method section remains robust one. So this was found to be the most common flaw, because if method is wrong, the results will also be not reliable. Hence, you should be very, very clear that the method section, I said replicable, descriptive, explained everything. Choices of tools and techniques should be very well validated. Inclusion, exclusion criteria well framed. Sample size should be appropriate. Analysis should be well described. If it's a randomized control trial, blinding, allocation, concealment, randomization techniques, which patients were included, techniques description, control arm, who controlled, how blinding was done. So these components must be described in detail so that they can be taken forward and becomes very important. This is just for you, for those who are newcomers, how the manuscript follows the cycle while it is submitted. When you submit a paper, it is received by the editor-in-chief or the staff. If it conforms to the instruction to authors and the scope, if no, it goes back to author. If they confirms, it goes to reviewers. They give you certain remarks, which is added or modified by the editors, sent back to the reviewers sent back to the authors for revision, and then they take a decision whether it's rejection outright, revise, acceptance outright, depending upon what type of article is. So to summarize, when I say that you have to publish a good paper, this is an important website, www.equatornetwork.org. It mentions various reporting guidelines. For example, CONSORT is for randomized control trial, PRISMA is for systematic reviews. So these are the reporting guidelines. When you plan a study, it gives you certain points, checklist, though they are for submitting the paper, but it is suggested that check all those points are accommodated when you plan a study so that you're not missing on anything. Because if you do a study and then subsequently during submission you realize that these points are missing, you can't do anything. So try to take advantage of this website. This website is really very good. It gives you many other aspects and details, how to plan a protocol, how to submit a protocol, what are the ingredients, what are the components of various different type of study designs. Do follow them up, and then chances of submissions will be much faster. So I'll stop here, and I wish each one of you for a good, you can say, H-index by publishing more paper, and you become a big shot researcher globally. Thank you so much, and back to Dr. Anika.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. That was really insightful. I really think that would be helpful to our budding research enthusiasts. And I would like Dr. Tarun sir to continue next. Dr. Tarun sir is the founder of Squad Medicine and Research. Sir, on to you.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Anika, and thank you, James, for the invitation. So it was my pleasure sharing stage with Dr. Rakesh sir and Ramo. Uh, I think sir, like the topic is pretty clear and focused, and sir has covered most of the things. So let me just brief it again. So can you see my screen?
Not right now, sir.
No, sure.
Yes, sir. Done.
Okay. So let me begin with the quote because like most of the people were worried about a rejection rather than acceptance. So that's why I started the presentation with a quote related to rejection. So always remember like rejection doesn't mean like should stop there or it's a failure. So it's always a redirection. You should bounce back and you should repel against the rejection. So like let's see like why manuscripts get rejected early. So as Sir said, like it may be related to misalignment with the journal scope. Like if you are working in a public health aspect, you should submit to public health journal. If you submit it to a surgery journal, they won't accept it. So if it's a multidisciplinary topic or a combination of two or three topics, you might choose a multidisciplinary journals. There are a few multidisciplinary journals which you can focus irrespective of the field. But if your work is focused on single field, like try to submit to the journals which publish in that field. And again, like a poorly defined research topic or research question, and the methodology might be very weak or unclear or poor, and there are a lot of language or grammatic issues in the manuscript, and there may be ethical issues associated with, and and one of the interesting thing is like novelty. So if your topic is not novel, obviously no one shows interest in it. And also sometimes for even though sometimes your manuscript like or your topic is very good, but the journals has limited space to publish. So that's why they might need to limit the number of accepted articles to 10% or 5%. So then they need to carefully evaluate depending on the limited availability based on the topic. So sometimes your topic is good, your paper might good, but because of space constraints, a journal might reject. So always don't feel like if your manuscripts get rejected, like always it's based on the novelty or like quality. And let's go through the do's and don'ts in the manuscript preparation. So you should always follow journal guidelines strictly whenever you want to try to submit a specific journal. Try to present your results or like entire manuscript in a clear, concise manner, and try to use latest references and appropriate references and the reference format which the journal uses. You can check in the author guidelines, and always try to cite recent literature or latest literature as the references. And also make sure you have disclosed all ethical all like financial disclosures or conflicts of interest, etc., very clearly. And don't ignore formatting instructions. So this is I personally see in my journal, like Global Journal of Medical Students. So a lot of people don't care author guidelines; they simply submit in whatever format they like. So like, as an editor, it feels very frustrated to review the paper, even though like suppose if the journal has a lot of high load of submissions, definitely even though your paper is novel and findings are very good, but still if you ignore formatting instructions, the editor might reject. So you shouldn't take any excuses, and you should be very clear with like formatting instructions and etc. Try to use same like popular fonts and font size, margins, spacings, etc. very clearly, so that like the editor sends it further for peer review rather than rejection. And don't overstate conclusions without evidence. So this is one more thing which I commonly see. Like the findings are positive, I agree, but they overstate the conclusion based on the findings. So this is one of the common mistake authors do. Like try to present it as it is. Like don't overstate. So that's the one thing. And using outdated reference. Suppose you are writing a case report. Some people cite 1990s, 1998's case report. Although there are good literature in 2020, 2022. So try to use latest references. Some people like submit with incomplete results. So that's also like which we won't feel like proceeding further with the manuscript. And coming to the editorial process, like I think Sar has covered this already in the previous slide. So like sometimes your article might get desk rejected, like whenever you submit it, editor sees and immediately reject the paper, so which means indirectly you submitted to a journal which doesn't suit its scope, or novelty issues or space issues or any other like silly mistakes. And like once the editor sees, checks like the topic is good and it suits the scope of the journal, he sends it further for the like editor reviewer directly to, if the editor-in-chief himself evaluate, then he further send it for a peer review, and then like the peer reviewer like check for the accurate methodology, data analysis, and interpretation, and they give the comments like whether it should be accepted without any changes, or it should be revision, whether it's revision, it's minor or major, or it's reject. So when the reviewers give the decision, the editors take the final call based on the reviewer's decision. So whether final decision will be taken by the editor, whether he should accept, reject, revision with minor or major changes. And so make sure your paper is aligned with journal or editor expectations. So it's always first impression is the best impression. So try to impress the editor as much as possible, because you have better chances moving it further for the peer review. And again, it depends upon the reviewer comments again whether it is accepted or not. So and study like whenever I submit to any journal, I will study like latest issues or 2 to 3 issues papers. Like if I submit in the review article, so I will read review articles in the journal, like how much length or how they are portraying, like how they are drafting the manuscript. So whether lot of references, lot of figures, like I will get an overview, like how the editor thought processes while accepting the review articles for the journal. It same applies to the other type of articles. So like study 1 or 2 issues so that you will understand like what kind of articles the journal is publishing, and so that you can take a better call and understand the editor, so that indirectly you will understand the editor priorities or the journal priorities, and try to match your style or tone and formatting according to the journal, and then try to communicate your findings in a very significant and clear way. Next, coming to the strategies to overcome rejection. So, like whenever you receive any technical modification or revision from the editor or peer reviewers, so try to revise as much as possible and try to consider everything as, so that there are high chances of getting accepted. And select the right journal for your topic. It is very important. And suppose sometimes we are good in our original thoughts, but we are not very good in portraying it in a form of paper. So maybe writing issues or presentation issues. So there are some professional editing services which offer to researchers so that you can utilize it. It's fine. So they will draft. I mean, they will shape the manuscript as per the journal guidelines, and it's ethical and it's okay. It's not like you are getting drafting the paper entirely by them. It's like you draft the paper, but you use the editing services to improve the quality, the output, mainly the output of the paper. And then strengthening the abstract and introduction for first impression. As I said, like the first impression, the best impression. So the title, the abstract should be very interesting and catchy. At the same like introduction and conclusion. And coming to the as an editor, like what are the common red flags which you will find? So first and foremost thing is plagiarism. So if your manuscript has plagiarism, definitely we are not going to proceed further with anything. We will immediately send back it for technical modification. So the most standard way is like less than 15% or ideally less than 10% plagiarism is ideal. And like very poor sample size, poor methodology, and statistical errors, and like misuse of statistical tests, or like very lengthy manuscripts or very short manuscripts, unfocused, or like not a good flow manuscripts. Like there are some people just draft the results. They won't use any figures or any tables. Like it's like unclear data presentation. And some people self-cite more. Like self-citation is okay. They can cite if they previously worked on the topic, but some people unnecessarily self-cite their papers, which is again a red flag in ethical issues. And duplication of one papers, which is one of the most common practices, like salami slicing. Like one like we have worked on a paper and we divide the results in multiple ways and we publish each results as each separate paper. So which is again in clear violation of ethical issues. And you should always do a quick checklist before submission, like whether does the title reflect the content and novelty, is the abstract structured and precise, or the results and discussions are clearly linked. And the drafting the discussion part is very important. Somebody read the discussion, but is the flow is very bad, there is no connection. Should always make sure the discussion is very good and it takes the results to the next level where it gives a clear and precise flow of reading for the readers. And have you checked for plagiarism and grammatical mistakes? And grammatical mistakes is one of the silly mistakes which we usually do or which we neglect. So, and have you followed our journal guidelines exactly? And coming to the handling the rejection, so the rejection is always temporary, but the persistence is permanent. And I always don't feel bad or don't feel disappointed whenever a rejection happens. So you need to bounce back. You should be very patient, should be persistent, and you should be perseverance, and which are the keys to success. And keep on trying. Definitely, you will hit the success button. And ending with my favorite quote, like as I always say, a clinician at an individual level impacts the lives of the patient. A teacher through his students impact the lives of hundreds of patients, and a researcher through his quality groundbreaking research impacts the lives of billions. So keep doing the good research and quality research, and they serve the scientific community and the patients. And thanks to all my family members, mentors, guides, and the friends and patients, and all who are part of my research journey and helped me to stand in front of you all like this today. Thank you all. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on my Instagram or LinkedIn, Tarun Kumar Savari. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. It was a really good presentation, and the students would get an insight from the editors in chief in themselves. That I think that clarified a lot of doubts of the students. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to call upon Dr. Amok Varma. He has co-authored in 130 plus peer-reviewed publications. On to you, sir. Dr. Amok, do we have here?
Yes, Anika, am I audible to you?
Yes, you are. Yeah.
Okay, just give me a moment. I'll just share my screen.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so is my screen visible?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much to the games, Anika, and especially thank you so much, Rakesh sir and Tarun. It's an honor to share the screen with you guys, and much of it is already actually discussed. Dr. Rakesh has explained it really nicely, and Tarun has cleared really well. So, without repeating stuff, I'll just keep this conversation by focusing in the perspective of students, especially medical students, okay, and especially those who are actually in the USMLE journey, and so guys, the thing is that talking about papers, it's actually quite difficult to manage everything with your studies and with research. So my bit of advice is just take the work which only you can do and make as many connections and networks, because it's actually not possible to publish a huge number if you do not have a really good network. Okay, so let's understand the insider perspectives of what actually journal expects. So the journals actually seek novelty and clinical impact and relevance to leadership. So this point here that it should be relevant to clinical practice may somewhat be problematic, because sometimes editors expect that suppose you are doing a systematic review and meta-analysis, so they think that this should align with clinical practice. But sometimes the problem is that research defines what is going to happen in clinical practice. So that's one thing, but always, yes, the clinical impact of the paper is should be the topmost priority. And the second, with alignment with journal scope, so this can be easily understood by going on the journal website and just reading the aims and scope of the paper, and it's quite easy. And how will you find a topic which is the journal might be interested? So always look for the current debates, and attend seminars and workshops of reputed societies such as AHA, and you might find, okay, that okay, this year the CHF came out, so CHD new guidelines for the treatment came out. So writing a paper which is focused on the latest thing is makes your chances a bit high to get the paper acceptance. And obviously ethics and transparency are not non-negotiable. The methodology, as Dr. Rakesh said, is one of the biggest thing that should be taken care of to get your paper accepted. Okay, now coming to the journals aspect. Okay, so read the aims and scope of the journals, and also review the papers which the journal has published in the previous 6 or 12 months. Okay, note down the what are the designs or what are the populations that the journal is mostly interested in. And never submit your paper to a journal, like suppose you have a cardiology paper and you are submitting it to an anesthesia journal. Okay, so if your paper is actually not relevant to interdisciplinary research to anesthesia, please do not submit it. It's just a waste of time. Okay, some beginners do make the mistake, and that's because we sometimes see that, okay, even though this journal is anesthesia, they have published a topic related to cardiology or something. But please note down that this is quite a few exception that sometimes journals may follow. It may be because of editorial connections or whatsoever. So do not get yourself have you misled. So yeah, and identify, the thematic and special issues. So Dr. Tarun must be very well aware, especially as an editor at Frontiers, and prominent journals such as Frontiers and MDPI, they usually open special issues wherein they assign reviewers, okay, special reviewers and editors to get your papers reviewed. So that is one way to get your paper actually published in a small span of time. Okay, and yeah, so framing the manuscript now comes. Okay, so highlight the clinical and academic significance, okay, in the very first paragraph of introduction. Especially introduction is actually the selling point of your paper. If your paper has passed editor's checks, it's very possible that editor might reject your paper just by reading the introduction. Okay, so introduction should be written with caution. Okay, and terminologies and conceptual framing. Okay, so what I mean is by terminologies is do not include terminologies that are not scientifically accepted. Okay, so by that I mean abbreviations. You should take a special note that abbreviations should be spelled at the very first occurrence, and then later it should only be spelled at only in the short form. Okay. And cite recent papers from the journal when relevant. Okay, yeah, this is one actually insider tip. Okay, so no editor is going to say you, okay, cite the articles from my journal, but it's actually the thing. Okay, if you have like 2-3 papers from the journal in which you are submitting, you are citing the same paper. Okay, that actually can help you, not always, okay, but it can help you to have a bit of increased chance to get it published, because ultimately the journal will get citations for that, and it will help the journal too. So it's a both way thing. Okay. Now, okay, as Dr. Tarun already said that, conclusion should be realistic and evidence-based, okay, and not overstate. So overstating the conclusion should be avoided, okay, and avoiding self-citation. So this is one thing, okay, especially in review articles and so people are actually addicted to self-cite, especially students. So I also had this habit when I had a really small number of papers, and then because I actually wanted to increase my citation, but then I got to know that excessive self-citing is actually harmful. These are the things that you learn, okay, to learn, and just I'm still quite learning. So it's that. Now, yeah, let's understand why initial desk rejection occurs. Okay, so it's a scope mismatch. Okay, there's a scope mismatch which is always evident. So how can you actually correct this? So for this, you can actually go to journal finder. So whatever journal it is, just so see, there are like 4-5 prominent publishers such as Wiley, Elsevier, Sage, okay, Lippincott, Walter and Kluwer. And so what you just do it, just go on Google and just type the name of the publisher and type journal finder. Okay, you will get to a page of that particular publisher wherein you can paste some keywords and abstract, and it will help you match with a proper journal. Okay, and then once you go there, you can just read the aims and scope of the journal and find yourself that whether this is a good match or not. Okay, so, and talking about from the student perspectives, actually editors are really interested in trendy topics. Okay, so even if you have a paper, this is my personal opinion, if you have a paper which has a huge potential that it might get a lot of citations in the coming future, just in a 1 year, okay, especially topics related to infectious medicine, so submit to a journal which is actually fast, okay, rather than submitting to a journal which takes an year, because that what will happen is it will take a lot of your time, and until the paper is published, you won't be getting citations for it. Okay, so just publish the paper as fast as you can. Okay, so some reviewers are actually regular contributors to the journal. Okay, so study their style. Okay, you can just read how who the editor of the particular section is, and then read his few contributions and learn the pattern in which he has actually contributed to a journal. So these are some insider tips that might help you to get in the journal. Okay, so strong cover letters. Okay, so guys, being a medical student, actually this is very important that always have your paper submitted through a corresponding author of uh, eminent societies, or just say a corresponding author from Oxford. Okay, nobody might say that it doesn't happens, like it doesn't impact the paper, but having your paper getting submitted from authors such as Ames, Oxford, Harvard, Stanford do actually give you a really good chance that your paper is going to get in the journal. It's a biased world we live in, and we have to accept the fact that this is the truth, irrespective of because I myself, I come from a private universities, and there has been several stances wherein my paper got into a journal, past the editor's desk, because I submitted it through someone else's, made someone else the corresponding author. And where I am the corresponding author, I felt that I'm getting many rejections as compared to, when I'm keeping someone else as a corresponding author. So yes, this actually happens, and you should just make a note of this, that submit your paper from someone account that, who has an affiliation of Oxford, Harvard, Ames, JIPMER, reputed institutes. All right. Now let's get into it. So optimizing the submission package. Okay, so you should make a really good cover letter. How you can do is, okay, now you must be thinking like, what's the best way to make a cover letter? Just go to journal page and the author instructions to author, and you will find actually the guidelines of how to write a strong cover letter. Okay, 4-5 points are really important, so as you do not get as many technical revisions. And having too many technical revisions actually makes the editor somewhat like, okay, the authors are not serious, as Dr. Rakesh themselves told that it's actually by just having a first look at the paper, if the authors themselves are not serious, how can they be serious during the study? So just read the cover letter guidelines, and then according to that, draft your cover letter. Nowadays, there are AIs, so Grok is there, ChatGPT is the most highly used one. Okay, just give them the guidelines, give them your paper, and it will draft the cover letter with you with such an ease that you yourself might not draft such good cover letters. Okay, so abstract we all have already discussed, and now coming about figure. Okay, so figure should be publication ready and visually impactful. Now, as a medical student, okay, this was something that I really learned in the very first second year of med school. I got acquainted with tools such as biorender. Okay, and then when I didn't have money, I had to design a copyright free image, and that being free. So I just asked my colleagues, how can I do that? I googled, and then I came across this severe medical art, and using copyright free images to make scientific illustrations for your manuscript. So you can do that. Okay, if you have biorender, that's all in one thing. Okay, if you do not, you can just use any copyright free icons and vectors, and then design the figures. Much more information, if you want, just Google on YouTube how to make a copyright free image or how to find copyright free vectors, and you'll get numerous such examples. It's all over the internet. Supplementary files. So talking about supplementary material. Okay, so as a newbie, you are not actually very well versed in what has to be put in supplementary, okay, or what has to not put in supplementary. Okay, so make sure that your supplementary material, if it is something really clinically important and it's not excessively long and can be adjusted in the manuscript, then keep it in the main manuscript. Else, if it is not, then only keep it in the supplementary. Okay, it should not replace the main text, however. Okay, supplementary should always enhance, and also there should be no repetitions between the components of the main manuscript and the supplementary. Okay, so if your supplementary is stating the same thing as to what your manuscript is stating, then it's a no-go for it. Okay, so also ethical and conflict of interest statements are utmost important. I mean, before even starting the research, it's very important to have ethics permissions and conflict of interest form. Okay, now post submission engagement. Okay, so you know so now your manuscript has passed editor's desk, it has went to reviewers, you have got certain comments. Okay, so now you have to respond it to in a manner such as it is not, you're not being very too direct, you're not fighting for your paper, you have to be respectful to the editorial queries, even though if you do not agree to the fact. Okay, so much actually most of the editorial queries are actually quite genuine and they should be acted upon. But if somehow, if however sometimes you do not agree, then you can just say like, we disagree with the reviewers, and then state your claim why you suggest potential review. So how can you do that? Someone who is really active in research in the cardio, I think he's editing the medicine section, so you can find his email address and then you can put it in a potential reviewers list. So this is actually insider tip webinar. So I'll tell you, sometimes I'm just telling you, like 10% of the time it does happens that your manuscript happens to get reviewed by the reviewers that you suggested. Okay, it doesn't happens always, but it does happens. So if that increases your probability. So if the reviewer already knows you, he might not straight away reject your paper, he might give you a chance to improve the paper. Okay, and the next point is that transfer the manuscript within publisher's journal family. Okay, so now you have to have fill the forms. Okay, complete all the copyright transfer requirements, and and post acceptance or post submission, these things are actually required. So make sure that you do not delay. What happens is, if we delay, it will delay the publication of our paper. Okay. And yes, maintaining professional tone in all the communication is paramount. So now conclusions of this webinar comes like, your paper should aligns with journal expectations, both strategic and scholarly. So Dr. Rakesh and Dr. Tarun has already told us how it should scholarly contribute. Okay, it should be novel, methodology should be clear. Now, what I mean by strategic here, okay, see, publishing is a business. Okay, it's a straight away business. Almost all the journals, like not all the journals, but most of the journals which are today publishing in the subscription format, will start to follow the open access format. Okay, because it's a business idea. So what they want is, they want that they should get as many citations as possible. They should publish active on active topics. So I'll just give you one example. So if you know International Journal of Surgery, okay, it's a very prominent publisher. It has an impact factor of around 10. Earlier it used to have like 15, now it has come to 10. You will notice that this publisher, although it is of surgery, publishes on really trendy topics, okay, like out of scope, out of field. So why journals are doing is to get doing this is to improve their impact factor, okay, to improve their citations count, okay, to get more citations. Okay, so you should also be strategic. You should identify these journals, that which journals are doing this, and if you submit to that journal, even though your paper does not align directly to their scopes or aims and guidelines, you might still have a huge chance over there. Okay. So now here, invest time in studying journal trends and reviewers' preferences. Okay, so how can this be done? You will say, like, I already talked about journal trends. So if you see that the journal, although it is of surgery, it is publishing quite in the field of pharma as well. So now that this journal can possibly take your manuscript. So keep a lookout for these journals. How can this be done? Very easy. Go to LinkedIn. There's a whole bunch of nerds over there who are actually doing really great job. Okay. So LinkedIn is the place that I also fear. So that's why I'm not over there. But you can actually go over there. There really talented people are there. See their publishing history. On daily basis, you will see 20 to 30 papers. Identify the journals. See which journals are actually publishing, and that is one way to identify journals also. Okay, so I'll just tell you, one of the journal was there, uh, infectious diseases. Okay, it was, I think it was a paper. It was a journal of Taylor and Francis. So I didn't knew this journal, but many of my papers are under review in that journal. And how I got to know about the journal is because my peers have been actively publishing, and I have seen that, okay, even if it's a student level paper, not very strong, not very poor, still it makes it for review revisions, and you do get publications. So that's how I knew. So study this trend over the LinkedIn community, over X. Come to X, join X. X is a beautiful platform to communicate with many prominent researchers. Okay. Now, frame your work to without compromising scientific integrity. Okay, so that's what almost all of us should follow. It's better not to publish rather than to publish a false research. Okay, because as Dr. Tarun said, he himself believes, and I believe it too, that through our research we can influence millions of lives. So we should not publish anything, okay, which will uh, impact anyone's life negative. It's better not to publish a research, a negative or a falsified research, made up data, made up IEC forms. I have seen people sharing false ethical permissions as well. So please do not do that. Okay, it's better not to publish rather than doing it in the wrong way. Okay. Now, every submission is an opportunity to build repute with the editor. So this I have felt personally is, once I got my paper published, you get to know who were the editors, okay, who were the editors assigned. And later, not immediately after my paper is published, I communicate them on a personal level, okay, that, hey, over LinkedIn or over X, anywhere you find them, you'll find them easily. I had this really good chance publishing under your guidelines, and it would be good if you can collaborate, okay. So having that good report will lead you to a really strong way. That's how I met actually many of my good friends who are actually publishing actively in this journey with me. Okay, so that's one way to build rapport, but don't use this strategy in a negative way to get your papers accepted. Okay, so always follow ethics. That's one way to think. Always be ethical is what I mean. And yeah, consistency in quality leads to long-term acceptance success. So yeah, I have learned this, that previously I used to believe that number of papers matter. Okay, as a medical student, you're not very well acquainted with what is happening in the publication journey, but you know quality beats over quantity in a long run. So nowadays I have slowed down my publishing, focusing on quality work instead of, just chugging out papers on trendy topics, which I know that journals might take away. So don't do that. Focus on quality and improve your mental health to, work less, and whatever you are working, make sure that you get the best out of it. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much, Anika, and thank you so much, Rakesh, sir. It's been an honor to have this platform shared with you, and thank you so much, Tarun, as well. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Amol. That was a really crisp presentation. I really think students might benefit from it. We also do have like a couple of questions that I would be asking to all the three guest speakers. These questions are from the students themselves, from the Google Forms that we circulated. So do we have Dr. Rakesh, sir, here? The first question is to Dr. Rakesh, sir.
Yeah, please, Anika, I'm here.
Yes, sir. So one of the student asked you, his question was, how can we reduce the AI detection to less than 30%? So he's asking for any insider tip from your side. And added to that, he's also having one more question, if he can use Quillbot instead of ChatGPT, or is it the same as ChatGPT?
So there is nothing called 30% or reduce it. So my reply is, please do not use ChatGPT or any type of this AI to write any manuscript. So do not do it. Write it of your own, and AI is not for writing any part of your manuscript. It's not good. Some of the journals do not allow it. I say ISA does not allow any manuscripts to be written by AI. So there is no question of 30%, 20%. It has to be written by the authors themselves. No confusion. Whatever, there is a lot of ethical issues which are happening. And if you see in Indian Journal of Anesthesia, we published one article that was primarily called as AI hallucination. AI is a tool which never accepts failures. Even if it does not exist on this universe, they will create a dummy paper. If you ask ChatGPT or whatever AI tool that are being used to give you a reference paper, they will do it. And out of which 20-30% papers you will never find they exist into this earth which you can access. So this is called AI hallucination. AI regurgitation is any term. So when we say AI, it is looking for it does not use brain actually. It just collects the data which is accessible to ChatGPT or whatever AI tool you are using it. So those accessible material times are non-peer reviewed. They are like a garbage. If something is picked from them, your article is not good. So what AI can be used is just to polish your grammar, your language, your spellings. That is what you can use once you have your final paper. You can use it just to look for whether there is grammatical mistakes or something like this, and that can be used. So I think I'm very clear. There is no option to reduce ChatGPT by 30%, 20%, 10%. Please do not use ChatGPT for writing your paper.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Tarun, sir, do you have anything to add upon this?
Yes, sir. I think last time we had discussion in the GGMS group. I mean, few publishers are asking to disclose the usage of AI for. I mean, as you said, like to refine grammar and to polish the paper, not then to generate content. Like, I just want you to add more lines on it, like to advise young students, like whether they can use or till what extent they can use, and like how to disclose and where to disclose.
Thank
This
you,
is
sir.
just to sensitize them. Do not use ChatGPT because sometimes when they are aware of not aware of it. So I have already added mine to my journal. So disclose what you have used it. If somebody will say that they have written by ChatGPT, I will say thank you so much. Your paper stands rejected. because there are issues, because who will take responsibility? ChatGPT cannot be the co-author. It is not a reliable tool. The data set and training is not appropriate for existing ChatGPT tools. Hence, it must not be used for writing, analysis, interpretation of your results in any way which are using it. It can be just used for, I said, or refining the language, polishing the language, and checking the grammars, which is acceptable for majority of publishers, but not for writing or interpreting any aspects from the ChatGPT. But yes, certain automation tools are based on this, but they have been in another software which is have been trained by using certain models. Say, for example, when you use systematic review meta-analysis, there are automated tools for checking duplication and other aspects. But then you are training that model for a required number of manuscripts when you use in SRMAs for checking duplication. It is not searching of its own. So that's why you are giving only information which you have verified it, and then asking ChatGPT to find the duplicate articles for the purpose of SRMAs. So that's why it is important that please do not use ChatGPT for any manuscript writing or something like this. Yes, people sometimes they want some ideas they can look for. I think that ideas can be looked for. But I think being this webinar is from games. So when we say student life, more you know, more you will be able to understand. So when you do a study, there are many factors which in the last almost 1 hour we have discussed. So when you try to read more, you will understand the nitty-gritties, the robustness of the method section, the tool that you are using. So for example, say, if you want to look for the perioperative pain, there may be a numerical rating scale, a visual analog scale, McGill questionnaire. There are so many tools. Now, once you are searching the literature, you will realize, you will learn that there are 10 tools which you can use in your clinical life for your exam purpose, for appearing in NEET PGs or USMLEs or any lab exams. Once you are learning, because you know there are 10 tools. Number two, these tools have different requirements. They need to be used at different places. So when you start searching them, you will realize that this is validated for this purpose. This tool is validated for this purpose. So as a youngster, as a medical student, as young faculty, you need to know all those aspects, which is important. Unless you search it, you will not understand it. You will not learn it. It's not research, a single topic. It's not one publication, but you have to enhance your knowledge, your wisdom, your clinical practice. Hence, I am very clear that do not try to use ChatGPT for these purposes. More you explore, go to the websites like PubMed, Scopus, Medline, Cochrane. They are the validated peer-reviewed website articles. You can look for them and then try to learn it. So this is what I'm clarifying again. Please do not use ChatGPT to frame a protocol or frame a manuscript or interpreting your data or a data analysis, because many of the times it will have gross mistakes and you will not be able to understand, and there are many ethical issues.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Tarun, sir. Next question is to Dr. Amok. So one of the student has asked, as you have peer reviewed like 130 plus publications, what are the three main strategies that you look for in your quality writing and your quantity writing?
Okay, so I'll just be very honest. Okay, much of my writing, which I did as a student, many of which I did it with my faculty, and yeah, they were all waste of time. I'll be honest. Now, what work I am doing since past 1 year, I'll say, I have focused that only, because in college, you see, faculty members are mostly interested in getting the paper out for their promotion as such. So they mostly publish in predatory journals, and that's I had no opportunity in college, so that's where I went. But what I'll say is that do not go to the quality field. I mean, what would you do with these many papers if you cannot just show them on your LinkedIn profile or show them on your ERA's CV. Okay, so in ERA's CV only, we all know that there is only 10 components. Talking about USMLE, like most of the students are of USMLE, and even I am for USMLE. So there are only 10 components. Okay, so you just need like 4 5 quality papers, to make your way for a residency. But when it comes to being an editor or being someone known, like becoming an editor in chief of the journal, yes, the dirty plate does come into the role, that you do need numbers as well. But my perspective has totally changed for now. I don't want to be a researcher personally. I just want to be a clinician, because uh, when I went deep in research, as a student, it's a very dark world out there. There are authorship for sales. There is no impactful papers that people are doing. Okay, so I thought, I did the work which I cannot actually bravely say to the world that, hey, I published this paper. They say, what's the paper? This is a very normal paper. There's no impactful work. So that does, it hurts me. Okay. So now I have started to, work on ML as well, machine learning as well, working with the, teams collaborating, and then, publishing, reducing the number of publication and focusing on the quality and impactful, publications. So AI ML is one of the most trending topics. And I know that if in a year, I can publish even 1 or 2 articles of AI ML. We are using AI ML and diagnosing various things, so we are working on that. Then I think in future I can get possibly more citations, and it's actually not the number of publications that matter, it's the citation counts that matters. And personally, as well, I don't really care about citations as well, because I myself have decided that I don't want to be a researcher. I just want to match, and I want to be a clinician. I have want to have my patients, and I strongly believe with what Dr. Rakesh has said and what Dr. Tarun has said. Do not just publish something even for the sake of journal or for your sake, because research impacts life of millions. So your falsified data generated through AI, even you may not know this in the very short run, because translating research into clinical practice takes a long time. But in the long run, it will be really detrimental, and you yourself will see in the next 10 years the number of retractions will also increase. So we focus on the quality, write some review articles. If you do not know original research, do not get into it. If you do not know systematic and review and meta-analysis, don't get into it. You can start learning them. Write reviews as students. That will help you out more. You will learn about things. Dr. Rakesh himself told, using AI, we might not get to use, what tools are there. For my personal experience, I'm telling, I wrote this one um, neurology article in which we are still working. It was presented in a conference, and then I didn't knew what is NRS, what is VAS. Even though I was finally an MBBS student, I was not knowing this stuff. But when we actually did the real work, then I got to know, okay, like reading actually helps you, and not just generating data. There's a lot of data out there. You can just make a paper, submit it in a day or two, and you might even get lucky, because journals out there are also hungry. Okay, most of the journals out there, open access publishing is not good for the earth, but yeah, it's good for business. So let's not get into it and focus on quality instead of quality.
Thank you so much. Next question is to Dr. Tarun. So one of the student has asked, as an experience of very experienced researcher. As an experience of the editor in chief, what is the most common mistake early career researchers make when preparing their own manuscripts, and how do you overcome that?
Okay, as I said in the presentation, so since mine is a multidisciplinary journal, I mean, like we accept each kind of paper, but when I review for other journals, it's like different aspect. They're like I didn't receive from early career researchers. Mostly it's from senior authors. Like, but in a generalized view, like one is like submitting to a wrong journal, or like uh, which doesn't fits in the scope, or like with the false hope targeting like high-end journals, like high impact factor journals, or journals which are high likely having like high rejection rate. Even I myself was in the place. Like it's okay. Like as a early researchers, like when I begin my journey in my second year, like my first My first paper I submitted to 3 journals like Lancet, NEJM, and IJM for one by one. So like it's like a young rushing of blood, like feeling like okay I can make it. But like later, like I got inputs from my mentors saying that okay, like you should be little bit practical and targeting the right journals depending on like how much novelty, how much uh, good your paper is, so that it can be like high chances of getting published in that journal. So now, like I will be very honest, if I feel the topic is very good, it has high chances of getting into a PubMed journal with good impact factor, I will submit. So usually with most whenever I hit a journal, it will go. Which sometimes I feel okay, it's not very great paper, but it has good potential. I've submitted to some good Indian journals, which are not PubMed, but they have good indexing and good reputation, which I feel like. So it's the one mistake. And second most common mistake I encountered in DJMS is like do not following formatting issues like journal instructions. So they will submit it as it is very poor formatting and very poor drafting, so that as an editor I feel very irritated when I go through the paper. So I think these are the two things.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Rakesh, do you want to add something on this?
And I also already mentioned in my session
Yes, sir.
the major rejections. So the journey starts with, I think Tarun was lucky enough that he got acceptance after 3 rejections. I got my first acceptance after 12 rejections, and but now I have crossed 500 publications. So, but the point here is that you learn from the rejections, and it's not rejection. I want to clarify. When I got 12 rejections, I approached my mentor and I said, the paper are published through connections. It came, and people do believe that those persons who have more papers, they are better connected. But it is a little different. Let's look from a different perspective. Why 80% of research are coming from top 10 institutes of India, including AIMS, JIPMAR? The reason is very clear. It's not Rakesh Garg publications, but it is because he has published more than 100 papers. He understands the knack of it. He understands how to write a paper. He understands what is novelty. He understands what is the academic levels. He understands that what is going around the world because he has reviewed more than 10,000 papers for various journals across the globe. He understands when he reviews a paper will be published 6 months later. He knows that this is going to publish. He knows that what is going to come in future, and he plans the study accordingly. So it's not exactly collections. If somebody sees the name of Rakesh Garg as a corresponding author or submitting author, he understands that that person has an knowledge, has an experience wherein he has gone through publications, and his writing style would have been polished by them. And that is what is you need to understand. So it's not always connections, and it's not always putting people on the board for publishing your paper. It usually does not happen. But see that person whom you think is getting connected, how much hard work he has done to reach to that stage. And once you understand it, you will have the same issues, and then you will have more publications. So this is my suggestion for you. Don't try to get a shortcut path. You all have the potential and abilities to publish papers. Spend some time. Spend some time learning, and then you will be a big researcher. And research is not the cup of tea for everybody. So I don't want that each one of you should have 500, 1,000 publications and an H index of 50. Some of you would really be good in a clinical acumen. Somebody of you must be in some extracurricular activities. Some of you must be playing sports very nicely. So don't venture into a field which is not of your interest. Research is not the only thing. Somebody becomes a very good clinician. They don't do research, but they are such a wonderful clinician that they are globally shining. So please have interest of your choice, but whatever you do, do it dedicatedly.
Thank you, sir. Just one last question, sir. So one of the students have asked, what key elements in a manuscript's cover letter make it stand out to the editors?
This is for me or for somebody?
Yes, sir, for you.
So I think cover letter is important, but it all depends. Sometimes if I ask you my personal experiences, I hardly read cover letters actually. I don't want to spend time in reading the cover letters. So 99% of time I will not read the cover letters or sent to me on my submission website, which is a Walter Kluwer and Lippincott website. So I am just disclosing secrets, so I will never read a cover letter. I will read and open the manuscript,
Okay.
and I will also disclose one thing. I hardly see that who has submitted it. So there is a blinded peer-reviewed journal, and all the authors' names are there on the first page file, and article is in the article file. So majority of time, even I will not see who has submitted it. So I'm telling you very important thing here. It doesn't matter that who has submitted, because I want to maintain the unbiased decision of an editor-chief for a good research. So probably at times I have rejected my own article, so because somebody has submitted it. So you can understand that I absolutely know. I have rejected articles of my teachers, my colleagues, and friends. So this means the cover letter does not make much sense, because why should I spend 10 minutes for reaching a cover letter which is not going to be published? What is going to publish is manuscript. So I always read the abstract first. If it suits me, if there is some novelty, I open the full manuscript and read the manuscript. And the first section of introduction I go through, look for the novelty, the new things, the research questions. If it suits, I go to the method section. If it is robust, then it will go for the reviewers. This is what I look for. So I think it's very opinion, but majority of people will not read the cover letters for any purpose, because it will be different from what is there. And I really want to see the main crux rather than looking left and right.
Yes, sir. That is really surprising and also very insightful. Dr. Amok, do you want to add anything on this question?
No, I think it's it's really good to see, someone as good as sir being unbiased, and it's really hard. I mean, I do agree. Even my paper was rejected from Indian Journal of Anesthesia, so I personally agree with sir that he doesn't actually read who is submitting the paper. I believe it. What I think is that being unbiased is the most important thing. And cover letter, talking from as you asked my perspective, it should just be a generic one and just include mandatory sentences such as funding was received or not, conflict of interest, this article has not been published, under consideration in any other journals. So that's it. That's it. The better to spend time on the actual research paper than the cover letter. I truly just believe it's here. Thank you.
I agree with Dr. Amok that I'm not saying cover letter is no importance, because many journals do have the editorial assistants who looks for, and these things are equally important. Like for ISA, it's mandated to them to disclose the conflict of interest, to disclose the use of AI and various LLM models. If somebody has used it, they will send it back to what extent they use it. So that the requirement of the journal is essential to be disclosed in the cover letter or the first page file. People use it alternatively depending upon the journal. It should be framed nicely, but the first acceptance or rejection is novelty and method section. If somebody is presented to conference, they can report it. That's not a big issue. So I think what I mean to say is work on the manuscript, spend more time there rather than spending time right and left on other things, and follow the ethics.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Dr. Amok. Me personally, I have learned many things today in this 2-hour session. I would like Dr. Shamama to speak a few words.
On behalf of Games Telangana, I'd like to express a heartfelt thanks to our esteemed speakers, Dr. Rakesh Garg, Dr. Tarun Kumar, and Dr. Amog Verma, for being with us today and sharing such valuable insights in our webinar. Your time, your effort, and the depth of knowledge that you have shared have truly enriched this session. We are deeply grateful for the clarity and the guidance you have given our audience on navigating the path to a successful manuscript publication. It has been an absolute honor to host you, sir, and we look forward to welcoming you again in the future. Thank you once again, and good evening to everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
And wishes everybody to become a great researcher and make India shine and
Thank you,
get
sir.
good number of publications. Bye.
Bye.
Right, sir. Thank you,
Bye.
guys.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, Anika. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.